So welcome everyone to part 3 in our 8-part series regarding real-time data for the out-of-home industry. My name is Michael Neal, and I will be the organizer of this webinar, but I'll also be joined by other presenters, Isabella Mongalo, who is our brand manager here at AdMobilize, and Willem Prins, who is one of our computer vision leaders and engineers here as well. So we encourage you to get involved here in this webinar. Feel free to tweet at us at AdMobilize. Feel free to message us or comment on our posts on LinkedIn. Also feel free to ask questions right on the webinar portal as well. And if you do happen to interact with us on social media, we encourage you to use the hashtag CVNOOH. Isa, do you have anything to add to the question and feedback process?
Of course, Mike. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Perfect. So welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. Today, it's really easy to get involved. If you have any questions at all, please just go to your control panel to the right of your screen. You'll see that there's a section called Questions, and you're able to just click on that arrow looking rightward, and you can type your answer there, and I'll make sure to get that answer, that question to Mike.
Great. And throughout this presentation, we'll have a few different sections, and towards the end or at the end of each section, we will actually take a brief pause to see if there's any questions and actually answer those questions. So we'll go ahead and get started here, and welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. So as we know, out-of-home is everywhere. And in the previous webinars, we've kind of stated this initial fact right off the bat. Out-of-home is a very dynamic and complex medium that is everywhere, right? It ranges from big cities to the smallest of towns, the busiest of highways, etc. And it caters to vehicle traffic, pedestrian traffic, traffic in places like Times Square, traffic in the Turnpike here in Florida. And what we have found in our journey here at AdMobilize is because of the variety of formats and the dynamic capabilities that out-of-home is starting to show, that our computer vision solutions and technology seems to fit very well with many of these formats. And throughout today, I'll be discussing a bit about our company AdMobilize, our computer vision foundation, our solutions, and also present a few use cases connecting the technology to real-life out-of-home formats. And what we're also seeing is that it's hard to measure out-of-home, or it can be hard to measure out-of-home. And this isn't for lack of resources or talent or availability. We believe here at AdMobilize, and I think a lot of people believe, that because of the variety of formats and the touch points and the types of audiences that out-of-home can reach, there's a lot of ways to interpret data, collect data, and analyze data to form and present actionable insights for brands and advertisers and agencies. So our goal is really to collaborate and build a system that elevates the out-of-home industry. And right now we're focusing mainly on our computer vision technology to do this. Now the biggest question is how? How can we do this specifically for today's webinar at the street level and with street level formats? And throughout the presentation, I'll be going over just that. So first I want to provide a quick introduction of AdMobilize for those of you who may be joining and may not know the whole story. AdMobilize is a 3-year-old software hardware company that is basically creating a platform to connect developers, consumers, businesses, organizations, etc., to design, build, and deploy applications for the physical world. For this audience and for the topic of discussion today, we're focusing entirely on the out-of-home industry and the various formats that street level brings. Now, a basic overview of our technology is that using a simple camera sensor, we can create software applications that collect data from any physical location and then aggregate and display that data on an online dashboard all in real time. So you get immediate feedback from data collected, and you can turn that data into actionable insights for end users, whether they're brands, advertisers, agencies, etc. And our technology stack includes really three types. It's our own AdBeacon hardware that we've created for street level activations, and I'll be talking a lot about that today. We've dubbed it plug and measure, if you will, or a plug and play solution that can be easily deployed and implemented in a variety of street level formats. We also have our AdBeacon API, which can be integrated into any off-the-shelf camera, which includes webcams, IP cams, network cams, even security cameras, to actually collect data from a physical location and display that data on an online dashboard. And we also have our SDK, which can be incorporated into other technology systems and actually can be used by manufacturers of hardware and software to actually drop in our technology, if you will, so that when the end product is delivered, our technology can be turned on or off, much like an OnStar or Sirius satellite radio model. Now I want to introduce Willem Prince, who is our computer vision engineer, to give you a high-level overview of computer vision for street level. So welcome, Willem.
Thanks, Mike. Computer vision at AdMobilize is one of the pillars of our tech stack. And what's really great about it is it allows you to, with just a camera and a simple processor, you can start to extract very meaningful data, and in an automated fashion too. So our tech stack, with our computer vision, what we do first is we detect a face, and we can detect the frontal face and the face profile too with extremely high accuracy. And this detection is completely anonymous. So it's detection, not recognition. And then we run a couple layers of algorithms. And what these layers of algorithms are machine learning methods on par with research coming out of Carnegie Mellon and Google Brain Team. We borrow some of their ideas. We use some of our own secret sauce. And it's something called a neural network, which is a mathematical mimicking of a brain for a computer to make intelligent decisions. So what this does is once we have this face detection, we can look at it and say, is it happy, surprised? We can determine the emotion, we can determine the gender, or we can determine an age range with a certain confidence. And moving from there, we also extract a bunch of data points on the face. And what this can tell us is, for example, the direction you're looking in. So this is the pose. And that would be relative to the camera. So we can tell if you are engaged in the direction of the camera and therefore being engaged with an ad.
Very nice, Willem. Because computer vision utilizes camera technology and camera hardware, there are also several factors that influence data collection. And in the process that AdMobilize uses during deployment installation, we take into account these factors because of a lot of testing, training, and knowledge that we've collected over the last few years to produce these effective and actionable results. So a few of those factors include the environment, things like, is this particular site going to be in a public space where it'll be day and night? Is it going to be in a space maybe like a theater or a mall or a restaurant where there will be various lighting, whether it's dim lighting, bright lighting, backlighting, lighting coming in from the outside, lighting coming from several different stores. Another factor includes positioning, which is what is the coverage area that you would like to address to collect the appropriate type of data. And this also plays into what format or what type of site is this technology being installed or deployed on. Is it a bus shelter? Is it a digital screen inside of a mall? Is it a kiosk? Is it, how big is the screen? How wide is it, etc. All of those factors influence positioning, which influences good results for data collection. The last thing is processing. Is this processing done on the cloud versus local? What type of device are we using? Are we using a PC? Are we using a tablet, a mobile phone, mobile device, etc.? All of these factors really influence data collection and the types of cameras and devices that we use to actually implement the solution, which is one of the reasons why we created our own hardware, so that we could actually control these factors and these variables as much as possible. But because we have done that, created our own hardware, and we have actually deployed our software only with off-the-shelf cameras, we have a lot of data, a lot of best practices, and FAQs to address many different types of installation scenarios. And with this computer vision, there are a lot of possibilities with the type of data that we can collect. And some of the possibilities include glance detection, adding in third-party data sets such as weather, social feeds, mobile feeds, etc., to combine with the data that we already collect. More complicated metrics or data types include eye tracking, things like hairstyle, brand recognition, logo recognition, engagement time, body type, body temperature, etc. And all of those, most of those and all of those can be used with computer vision and foundations of computer vision. Now I want to take a quick pause to see if we have any questions. Isabella, any questions so far?
So we've got one question. One of our attendees wants to know what sort of support you provide for someone if they're not really sure how to install the AdBeacon.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, so here at AdMobilize, one of our kind of best practices, and I think something that we have started to do really well, is actually customer onboarding and support post-installation. We really are developing a program based on experience, based on research and data to create scenarios for many different types of installations and formats, so that during installation and deployment, all the factors that influence good data collection are taken into account, and that the actual installation of our solution yields really good results, right? Afterwards, we have a system where we can check up on clients, ask them what they think about the data. We have an internal support system on our dashboards and on our websites where clients can directly reach out to us in a kind of chat, instant message format. We have several people here on staff, even people that are in sales and marketing, doing direct support for clients and partners. So we're starting to set up a pretty good system here at AdMobilize to address those factors.
Awesome. And we got one more.
Okay.
This one says, does this work over a 24-hour period or just 18 hours like most current impressions are collected? Can I run this over 6 months, get some real data?
Yeah, so our technology can run 24/7, 365, as long as there are two variables present. One, there is a power source to the device, whether it's our own hardware or, let's say, a digital screen. And two, that there's some sort of connectivity to actually deliver this data that's collected, the raw data, to the dashboard, so that it can be displayed on various charts and in various formats. Now, if the data, like from a cellular connectivity or router or whatever, for some reason stops transmitting, there's an outage, something broke, whatever, the devices that we deploy will actually store that data up to a certain point, so that when connection does come back online, it will actually start sending that data in the appropriate timestamp and formats.
Perfect. Mike, can you talk a little bit about how else they can see the data other than the dashboard, how they can download the data?
Yeah, so with our dashboard, and I'll go a lot more into that in the next section here, you can view data in two ways. One, you can view it on our dashboard, which I'm about to show, and two, you can actually export that data into a CSV or Excel file, and also use something that we call webhooks to import that data into your own internal systems and infrastructures in real time as well. So we have a few different ways for that data to be delivered and then displayed for partners and customers.
Thank you.
So now I want to go into what are those metrics and analytics that Willem was talking about that computer vision can derive and show. Some of those metrics include things like people count, impressions, views, attention time, dwell time, going into more complex metrics such as demographics, age, gender, even things like emotion, and presenting those metrics on a dashboard where you can organize them in many different ways. You can show peak times. You can potentially make correlations between data, such as what was the dwell time of a certain gender, what was the emotion of a certain age, right? And all of this data is collected and delivered in real time so that you can get instant feedback on campaigns and actually do a lot of cool, creative, and dynamic digital campaigns, which we will actually address in a future webinar as well, a bit more in detail. And with these metrics, there are various applications that you can take advantage of, such as audience measurement, campaign level analytics, such as impressions per ad rotation per client, if you will, real-time audience triggers, which goes along with the dynamic creative and dynamic digital content, validating viewership for sites and screens, and verifying ad placement based on data collected. An agency, a brand, an operator can tell the end user, where the best place is to put their ad based on the brief that's given to them and the goals of the campaign. And this is our dashboard. So on your homepage, if you're using our dashboard and instead of maybe creating your own, which can be provided using something called webhooks, it will display real-time and also aggregated metrics for all of the devices or ad beacons that you have deployed. And you can also see data for each individual site or device or ad beacon standalone. So you have a bus shelter in Miami, but you also have a bus shelter in New York. You can see the aggregated data from both of those bus shelters, as well as see the aggregated data from each bus shelter standalone. So you can know how many people walked by your bus shelter in Miami, compare that to how many people walked by your bus shelter in New York City as well. So basically, our dashboards allow you to quantify your world. We can provide you detailed analytics and provide you ways to organize it in ways that are more meaningful to you and in your organization. Things like day parting, providing certain filters and triggers that allow you to do that. Provide real-time updating to capture performance as it's happening. And also keep track of status of devices in the field to ensure that they are operating correctly. And we do have some sort of diagnostic and admin controls that can be used to make sure that these devices are operating the way they should be and that they are actually online and working. One more thing that can be done with, let's say, digital signage and digital out of home is campaign integration. You can actually integrate our analytics into your content management systems and segment those campaign results and also potentially serve ads based on intelligent recommendations from the data collected, both in a trending aspect as well as a real-time aspect as well. So basically, AdMobilize is addressing the gap in audience impressions with the only verifiable analytics platform that does not require consumer opt-in. And the reason why we don't require consumer opt-in is because we are not collecting any personally identifiable information from a particular audience. We are collecting aggregated, anonymous, real-time information about an audience that may be interacting or engaging with a particular site or ad placement. And I'll take another pause if there's any more questions, and we'll address those now.
Yeah, we got a question here. And
Great.
The question says, how long would this take to install in a shelter, and how many do you think I need to cover, say, a 3-mile stretch, all on the same road but a different location?
Yeah, so installing these on a shelter is relatively easy, and there's a few ways you can do it. You can install our AdBeacon technology within, or let's say on top of the shelter. All it requires is a power source and connectivity, and it will operate and be good to go. The second thing is you can actually integrate or embed a camera right into the shelter itself. Let's say if it's a digital shelter, and connect that to the shelter's processor and run our software in that regard as well, and also connect it directly to the CMS in that scenario too. If you, let's say, had 30 shelters on a 3-mile stretch, our advice would be to place these one on any digital shelters so that you can create reports for each campaign that's being delivered, and also potentially provide dynamic creative capabilities for advertisers. But if they are all static, we would say if they're all on a straight line, straight road down a 3-mile stretch of a city, we would do maybe 30% of the bus shelters in order to get a very local and detailed grasp of data collected in that particular market.
Okay, Mike, and there was actually a second part to that question. Take into consideration that all of the shelters are facing, that you'd need to put the AdBeacon on a different direction. Does that increase the time it takes to install, or is that not an issue?
The process would be the same, so that shouldn't be an issue.
Okay.
But we love to speak to operators or people who actually handle installations and maintenance of these shelters to not only learn more, but also teach about kind of our installation process and educate more about the hardware as well.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to go into some example use cases, and these will provide more of a tangible example of how this technology can be used at the street level in street level formats for out-of-home advertising. So first would be a bus shelter, like we've been kind of discussing throughout the presentation. Some of these you can use an AdBeacon hardware unit to either place within or on the bus shelter. Some of these are even rolling out with integrated camera systems or with options to integrate camera systems, which would be the ideal scenario because installation becomes much easier. It's just a pure software deployment at that point, but both methods can be used for this particular format. We can also deploy on kiosks, so whether it's roadside kiosks, kiosks in a mall, interactive touchscreen, etc., both our AdBeacon hardware and integrated cameras can be used in this situation as well. We can deploy on, let's say, place-based digital signage in a mall, in a quick-serve restaurant, bar, amusement park, stadium. There's a lot of different places that place-based signage is being used, and there's a lot of different types of signage, whether it's touchscreen, interactive, etc. We can integrate our AdBeacon hardware or software with an integrated camera to actually play well with some of the other applications that the digital signage will be running as well. Some of them might be running interactive. Some of them might be running very complex content management systems. And our goal is to be able to integrate our data into those systems so that it can be used more effectively based on the audience, based on what the data is saying about the audience who is engaging with these screens. And at places like malls and retail and etc., that can be very useful to drive sales. This can also be used in airports. We know that airports can provide data, and I believe TAB also provides some data about the traffic that airports receive. But much like a city, how do we know what each individual site, such as this one in an airport, how do we know how much traffic this particular site is seeing versus maybe another one in another terminal? How do we know that based on the hour, day, month, week, year? With our technology, you'll actually be able to gather, analyze, and use that type of data and understand that basic concept. Our AdBeacon hardware can be used. You can use an integrated camera with, let's say, a digital screen. But we can also use any third-party IP camera or security camera to run the same analytics to provide things like people count, impressions, and potentially even demographics based on the area of the airport that the particular site is at. And last but not least, I believe, we can actually deploy this technology in stadiums. So much like airports, we can deploy our hardware, we can deploy our software with an integrated camera, and also our software with security cameras. And this is actually a format right here in Miami, brand new at the Miami Heat Arena, which would be an amazing kind of installation for AdBeacon Technology. And many stadiums around the world should be and could be using AdBeacon Technology to actually provide these brands, advertisers, or even the stadiums themselves with very valuable data to use in a variety of applications. So last but not least, we can actually begin to, I would say, experiment with mobile billboards. And the way we can do that is by using recorded video from the events that these billboards are often rolled out into. And we have a few different technologies that we believe can be used to collect and provide data for these campaigns. And I put this particular format last because I believe and we believe that this particular format is one of the hardest to measure, if not the hardest to measure in the out-of-home industry because of just the format itself. And we believe that we have a solution that we can start trying out and experimenting with particular operators that run these types of campaigns with recorded video using third-party cameras. Even things like a GoPro network IP security camera can be used to potentially collect various types of data and provide this data for their brands and customers, which we think can be very valuable. And we'd love to talk to more of these mobile billboard operators. So kind of in summary here, and after this I'll take more questions if there are any. Between the three kind of main players in the out-of-home space, operators, agencies, and brands, there are a few main benefits that can be derived from this technology and street-level formats. For operators, they can collect and understand data from sites instantly. There's no need to wait weeks, months, or multiple quarters to get a site up and running and start selling that site. This can be done instantly, and we can start collecting and receiving and sending data based on each site very, very quickly. And you can also utilize different solutions that we have for multiple types of formats, like we just discussed in this previous section. For agencies, it's about broadening strategy for creative digital campaigns using this real-time data. And there are a world of capabilities that can be capabilities and new campaign types that can be deployed using this data. And also confidently recommend sites for clients based on the real-time data that's received. For brands, it's about more easily justifying out-of-home spend and creating an ROI for each campaign, much like they do online today. And also to verify ad placement of campaign buys based on the actual briefs or campaigns that they are looking to deploy with the metrics that are given from each site standalone by itself. And this will enhance the relationship between operators and advertisers, and we truly believe this here at AdMobilize. We believe that the data that will be collected, displayed, and sent to end users will be eye-opening in the fact in a very positive way. And we believe that it will allow for more improved campaign effectiveness by using this real-time data. And Isabella, if there's any more questions, would be happy to address them now. So are there any more?
Yes, we've got one more question.
Great.
And the question is regarding mobile billboards. Our attendee wants to know, the question is, mobile billboards have no real data collection. Wouldn't this be a boon for those companies? There are so many out there.
Yeah, so and that's why I wanted to mention it last in the kind of example use case formats was, one, it's a very hard medium to measure, and two, there's not a lot of effective solutions out there, if any, right now. And with a few particular technologies or solutions that we are building here, one of which could be crowd analytics, we believe that we can begin to start a beta program with some of these mobile billboard operators with the recorded video from various cameras during campaigns to actually provide this data in a way that's very meaningful and useful.
Awesome. We have one more.
Okay.
Okay, so give me 1 second, just taking a look at the question here. And this feedback actually says, a lot of this information is very obvious. It would be more compelling to see real-time demos and use cases. So maybe, Mike, you can go over some of the demos and the use cases.
Yeah, so after the presentation, we'll be providing this this in PDF format. The reason why we won't show the demo videos that are outlined or underlined here on the webinar is that there's an extreme amount of lag because we're doing a screen share, and it would be much more effective for me to send that to the attendees post-webinar. In these three kind of sections here, face detection, vehicle detection, and crowd analytics, all of those are demo videos that can be viewed by anyone that has the link, and we'll be posting these videos in this presentation on all social media channels and be sending them to all attendees. So we'd be happy to share those and have everyone view them and see them in action for sure.
And at this time, I'd like to open the floor for anyone who has questions on anything that's been discussed that might have, we're doing this at a very high level because we want to provide everybody with the overview of all the information, but we're open to taking very specific questions. So if you have any specific questions, please feel free to shoot them our way right now, and we'll go ahead and address them.
Okay, great. And while we're waiting for those to come in, I'll kind of close out here. If you want to see more of our demos, if you want to hear more about the technology on a maybe more granular level, simply go to AdMobilize.com, request a meeting. You can also email me, and that email will show up on the last slide here to see any of our solutions and discuss more in depth how these solutions can be deployed with your particular format. And one more thing I want to mention before we sign off here. We're going to be at DSC this year, booth number FT3 in the Innovator Zone. We'll be there from the 15th through the 18th, and if you'll also be attending or exhibiting, we'd love to meet you in person and show you what we have. We'll have some very interesting and exciting demos at this conference as well, and we're definitely looking forward to it. So if you're going to be in Las Vegas during this time, we'd love to meet you.
Amazing. So it looks like we don't have any more questions for today, but if there is anything that anyone wants to hear for the next webinar, please feel free to shoot Mike an email, and we'll make sure that we get those topics covered. Great.
So next up in the series, next week, we'll be talking about using all of this data that we have been discussing over the last few weeks and talking about it in relation to using it for dynamic creative. And we'll have a couple parts in this particular topic. The week after that, we'll be actually live at DSC, and we'll be sending more details on both of these later this week. So that's it for today. Like I said before, please email me at mike.neal@admobilize.com with any further questions, comments, or feedback. I would be happy to address them and discuss what we're doing in more detail as well. So thank you everyone for attending today's webinar, and we hope to see you next time. So everyone have a good day, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.